I know what's in it. I know how it's grown. I am unique to the industry because I'm a manufacturer of inputs. I test everything. I know what people are putting into their stuff. And that gives me an advantage with my sister, able to make sure that she has something for what her condition is requiring. The average person out there doesn't have it. If you have a child that has seizures, well, you're moving to Colorado in order to get the medicine that you need because your state may or may not allow it. That is legislative. And that is the lobbyists that are putting the screws to the politicians so that they vote the way they want them to vote, so that people will continue to look the other way and not zero in on the problem. Problem is contaminated water, contaminated food, contaminated medicines, contaminated substrates. How do you resolve that? Throw a couple of people in jail. Make sure that they're high on the food chain, not the lower level, Mickey Mouse pencil pushers. Is that going to happen?
Well, also, and make sure that it's not the end grower. It really would need to be the higher ups. But unfortunately, a lot of those issues are taken care of with, a check and a pen. Look at Purdue or these companies that are being sued for killing hundreds of thousands of people with drugs that they knew were dangerous and addictive.
Sure.
They write a check and it's like a drop in the bucket. It's not impacting them. It's like
you think about the revenue generated from some of the products that they're producing. So if you're talking about having to write a check for, $1 million when you made $1 billion, that's a pretty good deal. And to a large extent, that's what you see happening.
Yeah, drop in the bucket. It's nothing.
So at the end of the day, I still would advocate for the personal responsibility on what you're putting into yourself, on what you're putting into the bodies of your kids. If somebody's telling you, threatening you that you have to have your kids vaccinated, because I've seen what happens to kids afterward. All of a sudden, they have traumatic impact on their lives, on their personalities, on what's happening with their development. Suddenly, their immune systems are compromised. Is there something in the injection that they're giving them? I believe so. I believe the research has shown it. And again, they want to go ahead and brush that under the carpet and not talk about it anymore, make it go away and start talking about something else. That's the problem. But again, it's all about making sure you know what's on the certificate of analysis. If you're reading on an injection that they're telling you got to give your kids mercury, arsenic, lead, or cadmium, those are heavy metals that have issues and problems when taken directly into a person's body. Fusarium, pythium, to a grower, you know what that does to your plants. It isn't a mystery. We know what powdery mildew is. We know what that does. You know how to deal with it, and there's a couple of different ways to deal with it. Some people that don't know should ask. But again, when you're considering it as the pirate mentality of take what you can steal and give nothing back and don't help anybody, it's all about you, then you miss the boat. This is God-given medicine. How you grow it is going to go ahead and reflect in the product that is the ultimate outcome. And what that medicine is for family members, kids, grandkids, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, in dealing with their issues and their challenges. And in my opinion, it's up to the grower. It's up to the industry to self-police. If you find somebody doing something sketchy or something dodgy, get in their face, do something.
Yeah, blow the whistle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say that would be a good thing to do.
No one knows what really is inside of a pill that is prescribed by a doctor because there is no transparency. And with the vaccinations, they're using unsafe plant material to bind the pathogens that are being injected. And, sure, it might sound great that this is the way it's supposed to work and vaccines are good to prevent disease. But what's happening is sometimes there are historical accounts of pathogens being live and actually causing more harm than they do any good. And, like swine flu vaccines 20 years ago or polio vaccines 50 or 60 years ago that were pathogens that should have prevented disease, but instead caused it. And a lot of people suffered. And that information never came out until decades later. And you're seeing a lot of the problems with autism are not necessarily related to the pathogens that are inside these vaccinations. The problems are coming from ingredients that are inherent to the plants that are being grown to create the serums that are being used to carry these pathogens into the bloodstream. And they contain glyphosate or they contain some other toxic chemical or mold. And it's a matter of transparency. So yeah, we have to take responsibility for that, but you're having these state, regional, and even in some cases federal laws saying, well, you cannot fail to vaccinate your child because we will throw you in jail. And it's really quite a shame, but it's a matter of educating the public, I would think, to let people know that, hey, you've got to start demanding more transparency, just as you have to take responsibility for what cannabis you're going to select to consume or what inputs you're going to purchase in order to grow cannabis. Those are questions that need to be asked, but there's a lot more transparency to be able to do that in the cannabis industry than there is for a patient who's getting a prescription from their doctor to be able to demand a certificate of analysis from a pharmaceutical company because they'll never get it. It's a huge problem, isn't it?
I see that. And I think that what Americans need to really do is push back. If you're not happy with the legislation that they're trying to cram in your throat, vote the bums out. If you're running into situations that are prohibiting kids that are having 500 seizures a day from getting the medicine that they need in order to have normal lives, go out and protest. Protest the right reasons. That would be one. Protest the fact that you have contamination of your food supply, and then do something about it. Grow locally. Again, we can sit and pontificate all day long, but it's the action. It's what we do that is going to define our persons. What are we doing about it? You're hosting a show, getting the information out to the folks out there that have the ears to hear the message. Now it's up to them. Get busy in your community. Get something started. Because guess what? Everyone feels like crap. Every third person has cancer. It's getting to the point where, yeah, this is an epidemic. And they keep telling us it's normal. Guess what? It's not. It really isn't a normal condition. The human condition is not one that at 50 we drop dead from cancer. Yet that is what I'm hearing. People that aren't there to go ahead and open their eyes to it, people that don't want to do something about it within their own community, well, they're part of the problem, as I see it.
Yeah. Well, in this upcoming election season, a lot of these issues are not something that we should be digging in our heels on partisanship or tribalism or anything else. These are human issues, and we need to examine candidates on both sides of the aisle and really get to the bottom of where they stand. Are they protecting human interests or are they protecting their campaign donors? And make decisions based on that. It's your own livelihood, folks. It's your health. It's our country, and our government should be protecting us from harm as opposed to protecting those who do harm. And so you are absolutely right. We need to get involved. We need to call our representatives, demand action, no matter, what political persuasion they are, and say, we demand that you stop protecting these companies that are poisoning our children and our water and our environment and making it impossible for us to get medicine. And yeah, so you raised some really, really good points. I'm getting a signal that it is time for us to start wrapping it up. But I really appreciate your insights so much. And I hope that people can glean some ideas on how they can begin to protect themselves. And I know for sure that you've got some really great ideas for growers.
The thing that everybody should be cognizant of is what you put in is what you're going to get out of whatever you're growing. So treat your soil, if you're using soil, like the treasure that it is. Contamination, putting toxins, poisons, running it down the sink or down the toilet or down the drain, is going to end up someplace. And what that's going to do for our country is it's going to impact the rivers, the streams, the lakes. So stop making it everybody else's problem. Own it. Make a difference. Do what you can, however small that it may be, to help the next generation, teach the next generation how to grow food, raise vegetables, grow fruits, compart with your neighbors, raise the vibration of what we have in this country from being an isolated me generation to the we, all of us, so that they'll be looking at the United States at this pivotal moment in our history saying, this is where the turning point took place. This is where things changed for the betterment of the people of this country. They're all looking for the same basic thing: clean food, clean water, safe environment for themselves to grow in, to raise their kids in, and to be in that place where you can go for the American dream and try to gain as much joy and happiness out of your life as you possibly can. Time to wake up.
Yeah, and the time is now, and it's urgent. I mean, we're getting to the point right now with the way that the things that we consume are produced on a mass scale are basically going to annihilate the human race eventually. And I hate to sound alarmist about it, but it's the absolute truth. And it's also, the way we handle our natural resources and everything else is aligned with how we're handling our food supply and our medical supply. And, cannabis can serve as a metaphor for how we can do things right, how we can ask questions, how we can be conscious of what we are producing and what we are consuming. And wow, well, you have definitely given us a lot of food for thought. So I just have to say thank you so much, Dino.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Snowden. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, like all good things, another episode must come to a close. I'd like to personally thank my guest, Dino Changanaqui, for sharing his insights and knowledge with us today. If you'd like to learn more about the work he's doing, please visit us online at thecannabisreporter.com. Click podcast to find today's episode, and there you will find his bio along with a link to his website. We have so many people to thank. First, I'd like to thank our radio partners, Canosphere Biotech and Blue Mountain Energy, for supporting our show. I'd also like to thank our team here at the Cannabis Reporter Radio Show for always making us shine. And of course, it goes without saying how much we appreciate our programming directors at XRQK Radio Network and Society Bites Radio for distributing our show. And last, but certainly not least, thanks to all of you for listening. I'm Snowden Bishop, inviting you to join us again next week, same time, same place, for another episode of the Cannabis Reporter Radio Show. Until we meet again, be safe, stay informed, share what you've learned, and make it a great day. Evergreen is cold.